Miranda Feldman. I am going to be talking about book talks for my literature-based reading strategy for our LITE 527 class. Um, this was a strategy that I did see in Bond's reading in chapter 1. He went over just the importance of it and how it can be done. And then there was actually an in the field study done by Joni Richards Bodart that was also very interesting. So I'll be referencing those things, but I just wanted to let you know that is where I got my idea for a book talk from. I think probably most of us are familiar with a book talk and what it is. I know for me as a teacher, it's something that I do more regularly than I would assume that I do, or even like to think that I do. Let me just dive right in. Scholastic had this cute definition of it. I thought that it was just very clever. A conversation about a book that one has read infused with joy and emotion, best if done daily. And like I said, as teachers, this is something that we do all of the time without even thinking or writing it down on paper that we're doing a book talk. It's just something that we do as teachers, especially us as readers and lovers of books. The best book talks are done about books that you're wanting to share with others. You don't want to give away too much information. You just want to really let your friend know that this book is something that you would really like, and you give some reasons why. But like Scholastic said in this definition, you can just feel the joy and the emotion coming from the person when they are giving a book talk. Like I said, I did notice that in Bond's reading that he did discuss book talks, and he said that book talks not only guide students to quality books, but will actually hook them and get them excited about reading. Bond went over the importance of having quality books in our collections, and by having book talks that allows students to know that these books are quality books that we would like for them to read, and it just hooks them, and next thing you know, they're reading the books that we've kind of laid out in front of them. There was a study done in 2011 where a group of teachers were asked to do book talks for about 6 months, and then they recapped their thoughts and what they saw happen with their students. And the study said that the teachers discovered that the components of the intervention not only improved the reading attitudes and self-efficiency of the reluctant readers, it changed everyone's attitudes and self-perceptions, including their own. So we see that not only are reluctant readers, we have those in our classrooms and in our schools that maybe think that they aren't readers or they don't really like books, but once you give them the opportunity to like a book, they normally will take that and their attitude change towards reading. And then as a teacher or a soon-to-be librarian, our attitudes can change towards books. I know that right now I am part of a spring reading fling where I'm reading a young adult book, and where normally before that's not my go-to reading, but I end up liking those books that are given to us to read, and it just changes my perception on it and my perception of the other students that are reading it. So I know that not only are students gaining something by doing our book talks, but we are as the teachers, as we're reading these books and we're discussing these books with our students and other readers, it just changes the attitudes of all of us. And I thought that was a very interesting study. So I have some tips that came from an article that was done in 2018. This author just really went over why you would want to do a book talk and some ways that we can introduce book talks and have our students to do book talks. So in anything in education, we always ask why. What is important about conducting a book talk, and what is this really going to do for our students and us as teachers? Is this going to be worth our time? Because it does take time and effort on not only the teacher's part, but the student's part. So we have to make sure that everybody's on the same page. First and foremost, book talks get kids to read. And not only are they just reading because you're asking them to read, they end up really reading and wanting to read because these books are quality works, like Bond mentioned in our textbook for the class. Um, these books are good books that we are usually having other people read. The kids are sharing reading with others, so you're creating this dialogue that sometimes isn't done without our help. The kids are talking about the plot and why they like this. They get excited, and you just see their enthusiasm in the books that they've read, and they just want to share it with others to be able to discuss those things that they've learned or taken from the story. When you do a book talk, it takes time in the sense of making sure that you have enough notes prepared. You have to strategically think out what you're going to discuss with your audience because you don't want to give too much away about the book. So as you're reading your book, it's best to take notes so you know what you're wanting to discuss as you're doing your book talk. That teaches those taking notes skills that you need for the rest of your life as you go on throughout life. It also builds presentation skills. I know a lot of times students have issues with getting in front of others and to discuss things. This is just another opportunity for them to be able to do that. And it also builds listening skills as if you are part of the audience listening to a book talk. You have to be an active listener and to really think about what the presenter is telling you about the book to see if you would actually even be interested in the book in the first place. So, choosing a book for a book talk. There's different ways that you can go about doing this. One, as a teacher or a librarian, would to just be to provide the books for the students to say, hey, you're going to read this book, and this group, you're going to read this book, and do a book talk. That sometimes works. I like the idea of focusing on a theme, and maybe you let the students pick their own books based on that theme. There's also the option of maybe setting out a box of books that are already part of a theme, or like the provided books, so you've already looked through the books and you know that they are quality and they're appropriate, and the students would all get something out of it. That's also a good idea. Another idea, and I thought this was great, is to personally recommend a book to the students. This takes time and effort as teachers and librarians to get to know your students. I know in the past I've seen students that are struggling with something, just being a teenager or going through things at home, that I know that they would be able to connect with a book or a character in a book, and I think that they could grow from that. So to personally recommend a book to a student is one way to get them to read, and then to be able to share it with their surrounding group about what they've learned from that book. So as you get started, you want to make sure, first and foremost, that you do not give away the ending. That is the worst. You already know what's going to happen. It's kind of makes you feel like you don't want to even read the book because you already know what's going to go on. So you want to really get the audience interested without giving too much away. That is so hard to do sometimes because you just want to tell everything about why the book is amazing, and you loved when this happened, or you didn't see this coming, but you want to hold off with those details for others to be able to have those same feelings that you went through while you're reading a book. When you start the book talk, you want to really hook your audience. You want to get them excited. You want them to feel your excitement. And then you end with that same excitement or your hook to make them really feel enthusiastic about going out and getting this book. Book talks should also be short, kind of like a movie trailer. Um, you want to give enough to where they want to come back for more, instead of giving every single detail about the book, where again the audience may feel like they don't even need to read the book now because you've given them all the information that they need. A next level book talk. Like I said, I know as teachers we do book talks without even thinking about doing book talks. As a librarian, we probably would do that more because we're discussing books more or having the opportunity to discuss it with people more. But next level book talks in the classroom could look like a partner book talk where you pair up or make groups in the class and they are all to read the same book, and they then individually have an idea about the book, and then collectively they could do a book talk together presenting to the rest of the class. So it's not just an individual getting up. That also goes back to why you should do book talks. That gives a whole new outlook on the book talk because you're teaching group skills and how to work as a team. Again, all important things. Peer reviews are also good with book talks. I mean, we're taking graduate level classes now, and that's exactly what we're doing, is we're peer reviewing each other. When you do a book talk, it would be great for having the audience, the students, to review their book talks as well. This one I thought was interesting, and I thought about not adding it because we are talking about young adult literature, but this article challenged middle school and high school students to do a book talk on a picture book. And I thought that was great because once you get out of elementary school, you move away from those picture books, and I think it's nice for the older crowd to just be challenged by going back to a picture book and to look at the details of the picture book, and again, not give too much away. And there's already not very much in picture books as is compared to a young adult literature book. That would be a big challenge for our upperclassmen to do. Also, a challenging book that you normally wouldn't want to pick as a book talk book is very challenging. I know when I'm given books to read without a book talk from a friend, it's challenging to get through those books because I'm not even excited about them. But those are the books that usually are the best to talk about and share with others. I have a student example of a book talk. It's just a short clip that I found on YouTube, and I just thought it was great. This guy, he did a great job. Let me get that on.
Have you ever tried to fit in with a community, but everywhere you go, you stand out? In Wonder, August Pullman is a 10-year-old kid with a facial deformity, and everywhere he goes, people stare at him. August has been homeschooled his whole life, but he reluctantly tries going to school in 5th grade. Fitting in is hard for every kid, but for August, that difficulty is multiplied by 10. Wonder is a book about how you can fit in no matter what you look like without changing who you are. One of the reasons I like Wonder is that it is told not just from August's point of view, but from his sisters' and friends' point of view. Another thing that I like about Wonder is that when you read from the other kid's point of view, you understand that when they're being mean to August, it's actually their own discomfort around him. At one point, when August's friend Jack is narrating, he thinks back to seeing August when he was 6 and how Jack's mother hit him because he was afraid of August. If you like The Fault in Our Stars, you will love Wonder, although it is for a younger audience. Even though August's problems are so extreme, having friends in middle school is a problem that every kid can relate to. Thanks for watching.
As you can see in that book talk, he went over why this book was important. He hooked you in from the beginning, saying that everybody can relate to it, and he related it to his audience, which would be other middle school students, and he hooked them at the end because, again, it's relatable to everybody. He gave some reasons why he liked it, but he did not give you all of the details about it. So I thought that little guy did a great job with that. And here are my references for today, and I would like to thank you all, and I hope that you can use some of the information about book talks as a teacher, and then again as we transition into being librarians in the future. Thanks.